uh, ABC of a great presentation. We're just going to focus on what ABC is. It's just a formula for a great presentation. Today, I just want you to do one thing. Like, the utility of this course will be really optimal if you actually take these lessons that we discussed today and perhaps apply it in your context or the topic that you're going to present, and come back with some kind of openings that we are going to discuss today with examples. Okay, so we have done this kind of lecture earlier on the great strategies of opening a talk. Now let me tell you what ABC is, and we are just going to explore some new strategies with examples. Okay, ABC of a great presentation. It's a kind of a research-based formula on what ABC entails. ABC structure is A stands for the attention grabbing opening, okay, which is the attention grabbing opening. And then B stands for body, and C stands for conclusion or calling for action. All right. As I told you earlier, we have already very intensively discussed about some great opening strategies like storytelling. And apparently, one of your classmates also gave a talk on strategies of opening. Today, we are going to take some of the strategies with examples and see how people apply the strategy of attention grabbing openings. Now, we are going to discuss 5 strategies. Tomorrow, when you come to the class, perhaps tomorrow is 5th day order. So when you come to the next class, I believe that you might have already chosen your topic for the TED Talk. Even if you have not chosen, write a rough outline, just only openings. What kind of openings? The 5 types of openings we are going to discuss today. So you attempt 5 kind of openings in your talk, and you yourself kind of reflect on it, think which is the best way, and apply that opening in your talk. So what we are going to do literally today is we are going to look with examples. I'm going to post those examples in the chat box. We are going to reflect on these 5 kind of examples that actually hooks your listeners, that rivets your listener. So we are just going to look at all the 5. And as I said, the applicability of this course will be felt when you just go and apply. The first one we are not going to discuss comprehensively because we have discussed that enough since the time I started this course. That is on storytelling strategy. To start your talk with a kind of a narrative. Okay, we have discussed enough about that. So let's skip that particular ambit on using compelling stories for your talk. Now let us start with strategy 2. Let me just put this in the chat box. What is strategy 2? And try to write a small outline of your talk tomorrow, only openings. All the 5 types of openings I'm going to discuss with you. So let me put in the chat box. The second type of opening, they are actually called as, I'm sorry, say sing. I missed one word, correct me. It is using questions to create knowledge gaps. But how can you actually use some intriguing questions? Now let us see a sample from some of the talks. And I would just like to have an volunteer, one of you, either Jeffrey or Anna, all the 4 exercises you can read, and maybe we can reflect on that. How a speaker can use compelling questions. Okay, I have taken this from a very famous talk, a very famous TED Talk given by a person called Simon Sinek. It's one of the most watched TED Talks. Now let us see how Simon is using this strategy of using questions that really intrigue or using questions that fill the knowledge gap. Okay, so let me actually put that across to you. this kind of questioning strategy. Okay. So I have just posted the question, and this is how Simon starts his talk. This is how Simon starts his talk. Maybe the last sentence you may leave it out because it's incomplete, but may have. Can I request one of you to please read Simon Sinek's strategy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
sure. Yes.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year, after year, after year, they are more innovative than all their competition. And yet, they are just a computer company. They are just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, and the same medias.
Thank you very much. See, look at this beautiful strategy. Try if you can use some questions like this to intrigue people. I mean, this strategy is called as using questions that make people think and fill in the knowledge gap. It actually kind of so enticed me when Simon was talking about this beautiful aspect of why Apple is so popular. And look at those intriguing questions. How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative year after year after year? See, these are questions, and these questions make you think. They're very reflective. They actually intrigues you. So you are not actually answering the questions in between, but instilling a kind of a curiosity in people. So strategy one is kind of using a short narrative. Attempt that. By the way, have you both chosen your kind of a tentative topic for your talks? Both of you,
Yes,
Jeffrey? All right.
Yes, that's
So for that particular talk, do some kind of script writing today, but you will be writing only 5 openings, and tomorrow you will be sharing your 5 type of openings, and then you yourself decide which opening you're going to use. Then let us go to the body, kind of craft the nitty gritties of the body, then go and craft your body. Then let us take a look at some conclusions used by great speakers. Then craft your conclusion. Then you deliver your speech. I think this is a kind of a professional approach to rhetorics. So, this is the second strategy that we discussed on how you can use questions to actually intrigue. Now, let us look at one more example. Let's look at one more example of how people use questions. Okay, please take a look at this. Okay, what is the number one reason that most people fail to advance in their careers? Working harder and longer, not yet never achieving their dreams. Then the speaker will talk about that particular reason. But isn't it a great start to start your talk? It's a beautiful start, right? What is the number one reason that most people fail to advance in their careers? Working harder and longer, yet never achieving their dreams. So it is very clear to the audience you are going to talk about a particular reason, and before you start saying what that reason is, you kind of hook your readers. So beautiful strategy of using questions to actually intrigue, using questions to fascinate, using questions to create knowledge gaps. So second strategy. So I am quite allured by this strategy because I have seen many speakers whom I knew over these years who I admire using these kind of questioning strategy in their talks. Now let us go to the next strategy, strategy 3. Okay, and this strategy is called as, let me put it in the chat box again. This is a strategy which is very familiar to you, but you have to be very careful in using this strategy. What is this strategy?
quotes.
quotable
Yeah,
quotes.
quotable quotes. I think sometimes speakers fail miserably in this. I think sometimes this really backfires because there are certain preconditions on what kind of quotes to use, and actually there are 5 pointers written in the book by, you know, Akash Karia. In his How to Give a TED Talk, Akash Karia talks about 5 pointers for people who would like to use quotes in their talk, to begin their talk. And whenever they use quotes, they should follow these 5 pointers. Let me post these 5 pointers for you to reflect. And if you are going to use a particular quote in your, you know, in your opening, better be very cautious and apply these pointers. Apply these pointers. Jeffrey, can you please read?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Shorter is sweeter. The shorter your quote, the greater the impact. A long quote will end up boring your audience. Make sure it's relevant. Make sure the quote is relevant to your main point and relevant for the atmosphere. A playful quotation from Homer Simpson may not be appropriate during a tear filled funeral. Check the source. Check the source credibility. Don't quote Hitler if you're delivering a speech about the importance of ethics. Quote a well known authority,
Thank
quoting
you.
your high.
Yeah, yeah, thank you very much. Again, I mean, that's incomplete. All right. Because I probably, when copying and pasting it from my Word document, I just failed to leave out certain aspects. So these are some of the pointers you need to remember. But very importantly, I would like to give you one pointer. People sometimes don't know what is the source from where they picked. And if you are using a quote, you should know who has used the quote. That you should be very familiar. That is okay. Sometimes I have been appalled at speakers uh, who sometimes quote wrongly. You know, they just give a quote and just quote a person wrongly. That, I think, that is the greatest insult for the person who had actually quoted that. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to properly use the source. Third thing which I find appealing about quotes is, when I hear a quote which I have heard numerous times, I mean, I don't find anything enticing in the talk. But if I find a quote which is very, very different, which I haven't heard from a great speaker or a well known authority, that actually entices me. Now, if I were to ask you a question at this juncture, if I were to ask you what is a quote that uh, is fresh in your mind, a quote, your favorite quote, if I were to ask you this question, what would you say? Sometimes, you know, they're very challenging when people ask you off the hook like this. But then if I were to ask you what is your favorite quote, what would you say? Maybe a small test for your presence of mind.
Uh,
Yeah,
there is this quote, sir, which says
mm.
that take major decisions listening to your heart and smaller decisions listening to your brain.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any idea about the source? But that doesn't matter. Source doesn't matter
Not,
now.
I don't remember, sir. There is this complicated name, some Squasky or something, but I don't know the
Fine.
name. But I know this quote very.
Perfectly okay, because we are not giving a talk. I'm only asking your favorite quote. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Anna, your favorite quote?
Sir, I don't remember
Ah,
any.
okay. All right, all right. Sometimes, you know, it's okay. Balachandra, do you have, what's your favorite quote, Balachandra? Okay. So I will just give you an example. Okay, here let's look at an example. And there are a lot of examples. I can't give you a very specific example about quotes, but however, every strategy, let's discuss through an example. Okay, this is a quote on dreaming, importance of dreaming. Naturally, whenever people talk about importance of dreaming, you expect the speaker to quote, "I have a dream" by Martin Luther King. But this speaker uses the famous speaker Martin Luther King, but he uses a different quote from Martin Luther. Let us see how he has applied this strategy of quotable quotes. Please read. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Speaking when speaking when he talked about the importance of dreaming, Jim Kay used a quote by Martin Luther King. However, instead of going with Dr. King's overused "I have a dream" quote, Jim Kay used another one which also fit perfectly into his speech. Martin Luther King, one of the greatest dreamers of our age, said, "The time is always right to do what is right," which means that if it was right for us to dream as children, it's also right for us to dream as adults.
Wonderful. This is a beautiful quote. Rather than picking, I have a dream, but this is a very suitable quote. So you can't pick a quote which is truly appealing to you and fit it to the ambit of your talk. You should pick a quote which is truly relevant and also follow all the pointers that I told you. So let us move on to strategy 3 of attention grabbing opening. So, Balachandra, you joined a little late today. We are discussing about some of the strategies of attention grabbing openings. And tomorrow, you're all going to craft only the opening of your talk, and you are going to come out with the 5 opening strategies of your talk, which is a kind of a little homework, very creative homework. All right, moving on. Let us move to the next strategy, what is called as starting with a startling statement. What's a startling statement? Any idea? Okay, starting with a very interesting or a startling statement. What is startling? What does startling mean?
Shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. Something which is really shocking. Okay. Now I will just post some aspects about this, and then let us take the argument further. I think only examples will reinforce the point. I don't know, even if I'm copying the document fully. Okay, just give me a minute. Let's take a look at the couple of examples that I have given here. Maybe the first example. Look at this example of how a speaker starts his talk with a startling statement. Please read, one of you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Interesting, startling statement. You can immediately differentiate yourself and your topic from most other speakers by shocking your listeners with a startling statement. For example, if you're talking about the importance of avoiding fast food, you could start with the following statement. If you eat a McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese, you'll instantly gain almost half a pound of weight.
Yeah, it's really a startling statement, isn't it? So, this is actually called a startling statement. This will definitely intrigue people, especially when you come out with a startling statement. It truly will, intrigue. Now, let me look at another example of what a startling statement is. See, it's not necessary. It's not that it should be startling or shocking. It can be intriguing also. So your statement can be intriguing as well. An intriguing statement can do an equally good job. So, for example, in 1989, when I was graduating from my college, my professor told me something which changed my life, and I'm sure that it could change your life as well. Imagine, this kind of style of talking. So, this is strategy 3, that it need not be startling, it can also be an intriguing statement. Okay, at this point, I'll stop and I would ask one of you to refresh what are the strategies we discussed, including starting with a story. Can you quickly refresh my memory?
Quotable quotes,
Yeah,
then storytelling,
yeah.
then
Attention grabbing openings.
What is that, ma?
So we saw about some attention grabbing openings, that is
Absolutely. Yeah,
quotable quotes and
yeah,
startling statement or interesting statements.
yeah. And storytelling, as Jeffrey
And
said. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, Anna. I hope Balachandar also is online and listening. Balachandar? All right. Moving on. Let's just go to the next one. This is very, very common. This kind of openings. I don't know if you have come across this kind of openings, but I find these openings truly, truly fascinating. And this is this opening. Starting with a very big promise. I mean, advertisers follow this kind of strategies. So do speakers. Many speakers have used these kind of strategies. But advertising, slogan writing, for example, there was one, kind of advertisement for reducing your belly. There were certain beautiful quotes. Something it starts like this. Now you can get rock hard abs with no sweat. Okay, lose 4 inches in 30 days, guaranteed. 30 more percentage effective than the normal exercise. Imagine starting like this. It starts off with a very big promise, but you have to be very cautious. You shouldn't make false promises, just as it happens in many advertisements. As long as you are giving business talk, because when you are giving a business talk, you can't be 100% true to yourself, because there should be an element of exaggeration, and at this juncture exaggeration is very much permitted. So I leave it to you, to your discretion, what kind of talk that you would like to follow. I leave it to your discretion. So, but you have to be very cautious in including a big promise. But never mind, if you are giving a business talk, there can be an element of exaggeration. So it need not be 100% true. But let's look at more examples. Now, let us say that I'm talking to you about the power of presentations. Let's say I'm giving a training program on presentations. Okay, the speaker is going to talk about the importance of the training program. Now, how is he going to start his talk? Take a look at this. Beautiful beginning of making claims, okay? Including big promises, okay? One of you, can you please read it? This is a workshop on presentation skills. The speaker is starting his training, and this is how he starts. Can one of you please read?
I'll read, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
By the end of this half-day workshop, you will have the tools and techniques to become a powerfully persuasive speaker. If you apply the techniques you learned today, I almost guarantee you that you'll walk away twice as good as when you first came in. The 5 tools you're going to pick up today will shave years off your learning curve. Plus, you'll become the kind of confident speaker who keeps the audience engaged, excited, and entertained.
And then he says the first tool is, the second tool is, that is the body of the talk. That's the body of the talk. But the first part of it, look at only the intro. Isn't it so gripping? Because I mean, I know they're very tall claims to accomplish in just a half a day, but that will bring more curiosity to the listener, who's thinking, oh, I'm just going to be transformed in half a day. I'm going to become a better speaker in half a day. Did you raise your hands, Anna? You want to say something, Anna?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
especially when they want to, when they want to say, okay, what is this person even going to do in half a
Yeah,
day? At least for
yeah,
that, they, be attentive and listen to everything. So that's a
absolutely.
win-win kind of situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have just made my point much better. Re-emphasized it. Lovely. So you can attempt this kind of strategy. So attempt all these kind of strategies and then zero in on one particular strategy of opening. So I would love to see you all crafting these kind of openings in your tomorrow's talk. Perhaps let me not actually bombard you with too much of information. We will have one more strategy to actually wind up some of the greatest attention grabbing strategies. I think perhaps we will have another strategy to deal, which is actually including a plain statement. Okay, this is the strategy. Now, let's say you are not going to use any of these strategies. You would like to start in a very, very plain manner with a plain statement, but not saying little bit of different strategy on talking very plainly. Let's say the same situation on communication. What is this plain strategy? Let me post it. Okay, plain statement. Okay, can I ask one of you to please read this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Include a plain statement. Great communication skills are essential to your success in business. Think about it. How many times has your big idea been shut down because you lacked the tools to persuade the key decision makers? How often have you seen other colleagues get promoted up the corporate ladder faster than you? Not because they were better business people, but because they were more confident and eloquent speakers. How much potential income have you lost out on because you lacked the skills to close the scale?
Okay, isn't it so appealing? It's very plain. Of course, they are in the form of questions, but it is a very plain statement on how you can be a winner when you have a communication skill, or how you can be a loser when you lack in communication skills. Or let us say, people, today I'm going to talk about the importance of communication. Now he's immediately opening the PPT and saying that these are the important points we are going to discuss. Let's take a look at each one of it with the examples. Isn't it such a lousy way to start a talk? So today I think we had a very substantial discussion for this half an hour. And what is very important is, if you take these tools, 5 tools, apply these tools in the context of your topic, and tomorrow come, and if you apply these 5 strategies, I think it will be more meaningful and you can get more out of this course. Okay, so we have a break tomorrow when you are going to catch up only day after tomorrow. So meticulously craft your opening. In the next class, we can move from attention grabbing openings to leveraging the body of your talk. Okay, let's look at some strategies there, and then let's move on to the conclusion is usually very simple call for action strategy, but let's see if there are any strategies on different strategies on closing. Let me watch a lot of TED talks and see if there are any different strategies. Let me also go through some books and maybe share with you. All right, I think with this we can just end this brief session. Formally, I'll just stop the recording and come back to a very casual discussion with you.